coming up.
So I never had that dream. However, before the school year ended, I went to go sleep in a different room across the hall. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I looked in front of me and there was a white dress floating.
No.
Mm-hmm. It was floating and I was like, this isn't real.
Welcome to Unholy Vibes, a journey through the realms of true horror. Although not a religious podcast, our guests may present stories intertwined with personal faiths and beliefs to maintain authenticity. We welcome guests from various spiritual backgrounds, acknowledging the impact of their beliefs on their experiences. Thank you for joining. Let's dive in with an open mind and respect for all perspectives. Welcome to Unholy Vibes. I am Alex, and today we have a special guest, my friend Liz.
Hi.
Liz, tell us who you are, what you do, how we met, how long we've known each other, all that stuff.
Okay, well, I'm Liz, and I am a mom. That's my title. I have 3 kids, and I've known you since 2016.
Wow.
So almost 8 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That's wild.
Yeah. Like, we're all friends now. We're family.
Yeah.
So, no, known you for almost a decade. That's a long time.
We're old and
We are.
It's nice to be in this scenario, though, where your friends are like long-term friends, you know?
Well, it's like scientifically proven, and probably not, but this is what I've heard, that if a friendship lasts more than 7 years, it's like guaranteed to just like last.
Yeah.
Like, so we've already hit that mark. If that's true or not, we've hit it.
We're pretty darn close. And Liz and I have, throughout our friendship, discussed spooky things. We both love a good spooky story. We love
Getting the chills.
Yeah, we love getting the chills. We love the atmosphere horror stories provide.
Mm-hmm.
We like to feel uncomfortable.
We like to feel like we are being watched because apparently that's normal.
Well, also, if you didn't notice, if you're watching right now, you'll see that Liz and I both have matching crew neck. Liz right here is the creative genius that came up with this and made these. So you've probably seen me in every video episode we have. I wear my Ghost Girl crew neck.
It's so flattering. Thank
Because it's awesome. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But Liz, you do embroidery. It's called resting stitch face.
Resting stitch face.
Which is hilarious.
Yes, my mother doesn't approve, but that's,
No,
fine.
that's fine.
I had to explain it to her.
That's fine. Resting stitch face. So be sure to check her out. And again, we'll talk more about that at the end. But there's so much more. She's very talented. So be sure to look at those things. But anywho, so you know me, if you've listened to anything I've ever said ever in this show, I am like a missionary for the spooky. You know how when like missionaries knock on your door of any faith, they're like, have you heard of our Lord and Savior Jesus? For me, it's like, have you ever been terrified and can you tell me about it? Like, that's how I do it.
Have you ever summoned demons? Have you? Yeah. No, I feel like one of the first things we talked about too was we were like all hanging out as friends, and it was probably like our first or second time like hanging out as like just our friend group.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the first things you asked me was, Liz, do you have any scary stories? And I'm like, probably, yeah. And you're like, no, like I want to be terrified. And I'm like, okay. So
yeah, give me the real deal good stuff. And you've come today prepared.
I have.
With a story or two, a little tale.
Mm-hmm.
So by all means, dive in, spare no detail. Let the people know what you've experienced and give us the full background, like where you were and all that stuff. So go ahead.
I can do that. I attended Utah State University. Go Aggies.
Sports.
Sports teams. I attended Utah State University and I rushed a sorority. You know, it's fine. It's cool. We loved it though, but we also love stereotypes. It's cool. And in this sorority, because it's smaller than like in the South, you don't have to live in the house. But you would get like free food, free parking, and it was literally 2 minutes away from your classes. Mm-hmm. So obviously lived in it. So I moved into the sorority house like 2 semesters after I became a Kappa Delta, and everybody would talk about Patty. And I didn't know who Patty was. And I know that there's like 100 of us, but who the hell is Patty? So finally I asked one of my sisters, I was like, who is Patty? Because everybody was talking about her like she was some weirdo. And I'm like, I got to get to know this person because, you know. So finally, like one of the girls was like, well, Patty is our ghost. And I was like, okay, sounds cool. Like haunted sorority house. Like, haven't seen this before.
Could you be more 90s or 80s or
literally though. And so they would always talk about Patty and the hauntings that they had and everything. So then I eventually moved into the house and I was put into room 12. And people would always be like, watch out, Patty really likes that room. And I'm like, okay, sounds good, you bunch of psychos. So I moved into that room and I had 2 other roommates. So there were 3 of us in this tiny itty bitty room. And everything was totally fine living in there for like the first week or 2, going to classes and everything. And every time that I would come home from class, get in my room, the blinds would be up maybe like 4 to 6 inches. Okay. And outside of the sorority house, it's really busy. A lot of students use that walkway to go to school. There's also a bus stop. And there's a big tree too that people will just sit under too if it's either like raining or sunny, whatever the weather. And always noticed that these blinds were up and I would always get so mad because I want to take a nap after class and I can't with the light shining into my eyes. So would never think too much of it and would pull it down. After a while, a few weeks of this happening, I would ask my roommates, I'm like, who's just opening this like a couple inches? Like, not that it's a big deal. I'm just kind of like, why aren't we opening it up the whole way or leaving it closed? Like, it's weird. And both my roommates just looked at each other and laughed. And I was not in on this joke. Didn't know why. So they're like, well, it's Patty that's doing it. And I was
like, okay.
Yeah, literally. Okay, guys, that sounds good. So didn't believe them. Whatever. But they would say that Patty, our sorority sister ghost, always wanted to look out the window and watch the students go by. And
sicko.
Yeah, right?
What a pervert.
Freaking stalker. And I just didn't believe them. You know, I was like, one of them is just opening this up and they're just trying to play a trick on me because I'm still one of the new kids, you know. After a while, I would keep the blinds closed, but they would be off on their classes and they wouldn't go home till later and we could lock our door and only the 3 of us would have a key to get in. So it's not like somebody else could go in and, you know, open up the blinds or anything.
So each door in the sorority house, each door was...
Yeah, everyone has their own key.
Okay. So no one can just come bursting.
Exactly. No one can go in. Yeah, no one can go in. Same with like the front door. There's like a special keypad with a code that we change every few weeks and everything. So it's very secure. So I would close the blinds, head to class, or even just go downstairs into like the kitchen living room area and come upstairs and the blinds would be open. So I started becoming like a believer of this Patty chick, right? I'm like, okay, she's watching us. All right. This is kind of spooky. So, yes.
So doors locked.
Yes.
No one else is around.
No.
You go back up.
I go back up.
Blinds are up.
Yes.
What was your first like initial thought when you actually noticed it and you're like, there's no way?
First initial thought, I just looked at it. I don't want to say I was scared, but it was one of those where it was like, this is really happening. I'm like, well, and the thing is too, is the fact, you know, that I haven't gone very far. I know that those 2 have gone to class, my 2 other roommates, and I have locked the door. No one else has a key. Like, I don't know, right? So these blinds are up, starting to become a believer in Patty. And so I asked some friends in there and I was like, you know, like, what's the story of Patty? Like, why is she a ghost in our house? What's going on?
Why us?
Why us? And there were a couple different theories, but like the main one that everyone went with was Patty was a sorority sister that unalived herself in the basement.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, I don't think that anyone has offed theirself in the basement. Like, there's no way. But then other sisters would just have theories of like, she's just a sorority sister. She's just hanging out here. She's long gone. This is where she peaked in life. She wants to come back, right? I went more with that theory that our sorority house had been around forever. I decided, okay, she didn't unalive herself. Sorority sister, she's in the house because it was just her prime and she needs to relive this every day. So people would say, and by people, sisters, they would say, you're in room 12. Patty really likes that room. And since the blinds, I became a believer. So everybody that has ever lived in that room at least one of the 3 roommates in that room have the same dream. The dream is Patty is wearing a white dress and is either sitting underneath or on a branch of that really big oak tree in the sorority front yard and is staring at room 12's window where the blinds are open. Okay, for real. And
I'm scared.
Yeah, no, it's spooky, right? We're getting the little chills. So I was like, all right, well, I haven't ever had the dream. I've only been in this room for a couple weeks now. I asked my other 2 roommates, hey, have you guys had this Patty dream of her in the white dress, either on the branch or underneath? And one of them goes, yeah. The first week of school, when we had moved into the room and everything, I knew this was Patty's room, which didn't bother her. She was a senior at the time, so she had been in for so long. And she said, had a dream that I was at the front door, which was, so the room we're in is on the 2nd level. The door to get into the house, obviously 1st level with the sidewalk that connects everything with, and then the tree. She said, I had a dream I was looking out the front door and Patty was sitting on one of the branches, totally motionless, but just staring at room 12's window in the 2nd story. And she said, and it ended. That was all. That was all the dream I had. And there were a handful of other girls who were like, yeah, I had the dream, exact same thing, except she was sitting on the grass instead, underneath the tree. So I never had that dream while I was in that room. However, before the school year ended, I went to go sleep in a different room across the hall because one of my sisters had gone home and I was having fun staying up late talking with a couple other sisters that were in this room across the hall. Fell asleep, and for some reason in the middle of the night, I woke up. And I looked in front of me, and there was a white dress floating.
No.
It was floating, and I was like, this isn't real. Absolutely not. I rubbed my eyes because I was like, I'm just waking up. I'm seeing things. What's going on? It did not move. It was a floating dress at the foot of my bed. I didn't know what to do. So I just stared at it. I put the covers over my head and went back to sleep. That's how I dealt with it.
When you woke up the next morning.
When I woke up.
What happens?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Did you bring it up with anyone?
I brought it up with my sister that was sleeping closest to me because she was also my sorority big. And I was like, I saw Patty's dress last night. And she goes, I believe it. That was the end. It like had become such a norm in what?
No biggie.
No biggie. It becomes such a normal thing in this house that had been there since, like the 40s or 50s or whatever. And just so normal to see this white dress.
Was it glowing or was it just, it's nighttime, there's a little bit of moonlight maybe
it
coming
wasn't
through
glowing.
And there's just a white. So, because like at night, when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's usually not pitch black, right? Especially you've got windows.
Yeah.
So there's probably some, street lamp light or moonlight coming in. And you just see a floating white dress.
Yes.
And it's like, when you woke up and you looked in the same spot, you're like, there's no way I could have been.
No.
Because you're like, I'm looking at.
Well, and that wasn't the first time that I slept in that bed either.
Okay.
And had looked out, at the foot of my bed at night. So it wasn't glowing. It was slightly translucent. And in that room across the hall from my assigned room, there's a window and the parking lot is right below. Okay. And it has like kind of to the side of the window is like a light that shines down. But again, not my first time sleeping in this room, not my first time having my eyes open at the foot of my bed while it's dark.
And it stood completely still.
And it stood still.
No person, though, just a dress?
Just
like
a dress.
You didn't see Patty herself?
Nope, I did not see any face. And I had to test this theory, test to see if it was real again. So a week later, it was dark.
Okay.
I waited till sleeping, across the hall from my assigned room. I waited for the other 2 to go to sleep, waited around, kept looking, nothing. I woke up probably around 2 or 3 to go pee. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You're like, okay, it wasn't just a trick of the eyes.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, so that was like a real thing I saw. This wasn't the light coming in or, you know, something that not paranormal.
What a scientific way to approach it. Like, okay, here's the control. Let's try it in a different time and see if the same thing happens or if it's totally different. I say scientific, but you know, it's like you weren't just like, I saw this thing. That's all there is to it. Like, let me try this again.
I had to try it again because I honestly was like, that couldn't be real. Like, that did not happen. That was the blinds. That was the light. That was something else. There's just no way. So I had to test it. And lo and behold, it was Patty, dude.
Okay. Fun fact to everyone. I've been in that sorority house once. When we went to visit your little, we all went out and had like Chinese food or sushi or something up in Layton.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I've been in the sorority house. Mm-hmm. It was very brief. You were going to just say hi to one of your friends.
Yep. This was like right after I graduated.
I believe so. Yeah. You're going to say hi to your little, and I don't know if you're picking anything up, but we were just having a silly goose time. We just had dinner. We went and saw this place before going to your parents' place and saying hi to them. And at the time, I didn't even think twice about it. At the time when we were in the sorority house, no one brought it up, but I didn't get any spooky vibes. But you know me, I usually don't. I'm not a perceptive person like that. Our other buddy would have.
Oh, totally.
I'd have to remember if he was there. Anywho, so yeah, the place is small. It's a pretty small little house.
Yeah, it's just like basement, middle level. Upstairs is where
I should say it's tall.
Yeah, it's tall.
But it's not like
no, it's not
wide.
Big. When people hear sorority house, they think of like a sorority in like the South where it's literally 100+ girls are living there. There's like a big kitchen, cooking quarters, and like a mansion.
Yeah. Okay. How many people were in the sorority?
About like 120, depending on like the semester and graduation and everything. But living in the house, it's 24 girls.
24 is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of the other sorority sisters in that house at that time, were they all pretty much like of the same mind? Like, yeah, it's just
totally
the ghost.
Totally.
Did you ever have any other occurrences that happened?
Alex. Yes.
Okay. I said I wouldn't ask questions till the end. I thought that was the end of story 1. So
no, it keeps going.
Feed us more.
So, Patty, and again, after my experiences with the blinds, seeing the dress floating in the middle of the night, I absolutely believe this. She was there to make sure that the girls were following the rules. Our rules were no boys in our bedroom, no alcohol. They can only stay until, I think it's like midnight or something like that, because studying with people, they could only be in the dining room, the living room, the study room in the basement, and that's pretty much it. And Patty would get mad if you broke the rules.
What a stickler.
No, she honestly, she would get mad. And I remember being in the, so you would walk downstairs in the basement. You would walk down and there would be a hallway to your left. And at the end of the hall was our study room. And then there's a door that was in the study room that would go to the unfinished room. That's where girls would store maybe like some extra furniture or something. That's where you would do like your arts and crafts because it was unfinished. So you could paint in there and it was fine. But the rule was you could not use spray paint in there because there was only one tiny little basement window. And if you didn't crack that, you're huffing fumes. So I had to paint something really quick for a class. Opened up the little window. I just did a little and 3 things fall off of the shelf, our arts and crafts shelf. 2 bottles of paint and this little bin that had like markers in it. They literally just, not that they flew across the room, but they just, okay. And I was like, first of all, what was that? And then I go, I broke the rules. It's Patty. She's letting me know, you cannot spray paint in here, little miss. Like, you know.
Little warning shot.
So, okay. Then, so this is like all the next school year. So I'm actually out of Patty's room and everything at this time. But like, you know she's there. You're not in her room, but you know she's there. And I in a totally different room, totally different end of the hallway upstairs. But we were studying in the study room. That's right outside the unfinished room. And it was just a little bit after midnight, and we had 2 boys from like the fraternity down the street studying with us. And it was past midnight. One of the girls mentioned, oh, it's past midnight. We can't let people know that they're in here or else we're going to get fined.
Right.
So as soon as that happened,
12:01 hits.
12:01.
Like, get out of here.
She, and I say she because I know it was her, flickered the lights. The only way to turn those lights on and off are the light switch that's inside the room when we had the door closed. So she flickered the lights. It was kind of like a little warning sign, like, okay, like, time to go. Tell the boys goodbye. We all looked at each other, and the boys hadn't really heard about Patty. And us girls looked at each other, and we were like, well, we are still not done with this. So something fell in the unfinished room. She was getting mad. It was time to go. So us girls, we look at each other and we go, you know, I think it's time that we go. We can do this tomorrow. Okay. They left. No more lights flickering. Nothing fell in the unfinished room. Yes.
Did you go check the unfinished room to see what had fallen?
I did. I didn't see anything because there's so much crap in there
right.
that you don't really know, because a lot of it's arts and craft stuff, and girls will leave things on the floor to dry or whatever. So whatever it was, I didn't know what it was, but something fell.
Dang. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So fast forward about a year. It is my last semester at school, and there is a class at Utah State called folklore.
Folklore?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wanted to take it so bad, but it was always full. It was a class that would talk about folklore, paranormal, Bigfoot, those kind of things. Totally would love to even just sit on that class. So we had a guy we'd never seen, because usually like fraternity boys would hang out at our house and we would at their house and everything. So it was very rare that we would have somebody to the door that no one recognized, and 2, wasn't part of the Greek community. So he comes up to the door, knocks on it. I answer it, and he tells me what his name is. We'll call him Jake. And he says, I am doing a project for the folklore class that I'm in. And I was stoked because I'm a slut for folklore.
Who isn't, really?
And I was like, yeah, like, what do you need? And he said, I've heard about Patty. There's stories written about her, which I didn't know, stories written about her that are in whatever archives, I'm not sure, at the library here on campus. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, there are some accounts from different sisters or people that were just in there visiting their friends of Patty. And most of it was someone's breaking rules, the lights are flickering, something falls or flies off a shelf, those different things. So he was like, I wanted to come here and interview a sister, preferably a senior, my last year there, so it was perfect, of any accounts and stories that maybe you have heard about Patty. And so I was like, absolutely. So he was like, where can we interview? The living room, there were like a billion girls there. It's too loud. He can't go into my room. We can't go to the dining room. There's girls that are doing homework there. And the study room downstairs was occupied by people in study groups. So we opted to go to the chapter room. Now, it wasn't really against the rules of people, like men going to the chapter room, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you don't need to take them in there, like, don't take them in there. Mm-hmm. So he and I would go into the chapter room, which is in the basement across the hall from the study room. We start talking, and he's like, what have you experienced about Patty? And I had told him about the blinds. I told him about seeing the dress. I gave him some stories about other sorority sisters and what they had experienced. And he goes, okay, like, do you notice more activity when something is or isn't being done, or in some places? And I said, she doesn't like it when we break the rules. And immediately the lights start flickering. Now, again, the only way to turn off these lights are in the chapter room with the one switch. And I can see the one switch. And I know it has nothing to do with the breakers or anything like that, or with the old wiring, because you can see the hall from where we're sitting on the couch, and the light is on perfectly in the hall. So it's flickering, right? And he was like, what was that? And I looked at him, and I tried to be spooky, but like, it came off really spooky. And I go, it's Patty. I don't think she likes you.
Dang, bro.
I'm pretty sure that kid pooed his pants. Straight up. Straight up. So luckily he didn't leave. We're talking some more, and
Did he take you seriously?
oh, 100%.
Okay.
Oh, his face when he looked at me and said, "What's that?" And it's Patty. Jaw on the floor. Like I was going to have to go up to him and scoop up his chin and be like, "Bro, you are okay." So,
wow.
Yeah, no, totally.
Beautiful timing.
It was gorgeous. Chef's kiss. Patty knew what she was doing, right?
Yeah. She's like, "What's up?"
Yes. So if you're in the chapter room, the couches are facing the back wall where if you're sitting on the couch, are facing the front of the chapter room. Now, the wall directly behind the chapter room is the boiler room and the laundry room. And pretty thin wall, but there is a wall separating. And if you're looking at the chapter room, you have on the right side is what is the main door that people come in and out of the chapter room. And on the left side is the door to get into the boiler room.
The boiler room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we're talking a little bit more. He's telling me some of the folklore things that he has learned in class because I'm very interested. And the furnace room door slammed shut. Again, I thought this kid pooed his pants because I was like looking over at him and it was like deer in headlights.
Well, he must have thought, are they messing with me? But at the same time, it's like, you just showed up.
He just showed up, right?
Yeah, there's no way.
I didn't have time to go over to my sisters and be like, oh my gosh, guys, Kate, time to play Patty. Like, this guy, we've got to get him to believe. No. So it slammed shut, and I looked at him and I said, I think it's time that we end our interview. That kid, he ran up those stairs so fast and got out of that house.
You ever see him again?
Never saw him again.
Bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Patty the ghost.
That's my story. My story is about Patty, Sister Patty.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you still have this friend, your little,
yes,
who was there. Did she ever experience anything?
I don't think she did.
You should text her later and ask her.
I should.
Just for fun.
I should. Bryce, let me know if you heard anything from Patty. I miss her.
So that was like the extent of it, right?
That was the extent of like my personal stories, and the other sisters and everything experienced the same things.
Yeah. There's probably a constant stream of little things.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, would you go back?
Oh, totally.
I've been
back.
Yeah.
I've been back several times.
Let's go by sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Get a group together and go ghost hunting.
Yeah, I have one of the council members is my little's little, so she's my grand little. I'm a grandma.
Okay.
I could be like, hey, like, can we come in?
Another thing I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
In your time living there, did you ever feel scared, or were you just like, it's just part of it. It's just happening?
I don't think I really felt scared, except for like the instant, like seeing the blinds
The
kind
shock.
of thing. The shock.
Yeah.
The dress did spook me a little bit. Like it was a little spooky. I don't know. I didn't ever feel scared. I think maybe because like I wasn't being harmed or anything and never heard of anybody else being harmed. But no, I never really felt scared.
You didn't think Patty was malicious?
No.
She's the mom of the house.
Yes. And maybe essentially because like when people were talking about Patty and I started becoming a believer, I was like, oh, it's just another sister. Like, she's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, kind of thing, instead of like this demon living in the house.
There's camaraderie with the ghost.
Where I'm like, we're cool. Like,
yeah, we're chilling, right,
we
Patty?
both wear the same letters. Like, we're good. So,
wow.
Yeah, no, I never felt like I needed to get out of that house.
Well, that's good. Okay, so I like this. And do you think it would ruin the appeal of that sorority if Patty wasn't there anymore?
No, but it makes it fun. Well, because the other thing is, because like, what if like something goes wrong? It was Patty. It's our excuse, But no, I no, because it's one of those things too. Like when I was doing Sorority Rush, I didn't know that there was a ghost named Patty. I didn't know that till like right before I was moving into one of the rooms, and so.
You think they're keeping it secret from new people?
Oh yeah.
Not to scare people away.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to attract the wrong people.
No, they just want
not the weirdos.
No, heaven forbid.
We should go.
No, let's go. Let's seriously do it. Let's get the boxes and everything.
Oh, dude. Well, but here's the thing. What if we like cast Patty out, and we're like, you're not allowed to be here anymore.
We can't do that. That's our house.
Move on, Patty.
You're past your prime.
Yeah, well, you're not 18 anymore. You're obviously much older, and you're dead. No, just go there and shit talk Patty for like an hour.
Yeah, then we probably would get something thrown at us.
What are you gonna do? Throw some paint at me, bitch? Oh man, is it wrong that I want to agitate ghosts?
I mean, unless you want something to be like attached to you.
Do you think something would attach to you?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm a huge believer that if you are being a little shit to ghosts, they're going to attach to you.
So this brings up an interesting point that I've talked about before. And by the time this episode is published, people will have heard this conversation. But I spoke with my stepmom, and she's very spiritually sensitive and all this. And she's like, aren't you afraid of like diving into some of this stuff? Because you might open yourself up to something. And I'm like, I don't think I'm even capable. I couldn't if I tried.
You think so?
Yeah, because I likened it unto electricity. Like we both were talking about it. She's like, the current, electricity. I said, I think I'm a closed circuit. I'm just
really
self-sufficient.
Okay.
Closed circuit, spiritually speaking.
I could see that. But also, if you are putting yourself in like a dangerous situation, pull out a Ouija board. Oh, dude, it's going. But if you did, that closed circuit, it's opening.
Maybe. But here's the thing. I don't think a Ouija board would work with me.
Why?
Because I don't have that in me to make it work. I don't believe like that.
Okay.
And I am religious. I have my faith. And dude, this is going to sound like I'm being a dick. I don't think I'm susceptible to those things.
Really?
Spiritually.
Okay, but do you think if you were like actively summoning demons or something that it would attach to you? Or
here's the thing. Again, like I feel like I have a good amount of faith in me. But I don't even have like holy spiritual experiences.
Okay.
I don't have unholy spiritual experiences. I'm so stuffed up. Sorry. My experiences, like if there's a full spectrum and here's like scary demon summoning, you're getting possessed, and here's like I'm communing with God and I see angels, and it's like, well, how far on the spectrum can I go? It's like, here's dead center. I'm like this. I have a little bit on.
Like a little rim on each side.
Just a little bit. It has nothing to do with my belief or my faith. It's like, I think that's just who I am. Everyone is different. Everyone, like, I'll cut this out, the name at least, but is very spiritually sensitive.
Yes.
People would consider him a medium.
Oh, 100%. Well, and
he wouldn't. He's like, but he lets it just slide off. He doesn't focus on it.
Probably because it's been something with him since birth. You know,
he has eyes to see. I don't. Because
can't he see like dead people?
He's seen glimmers. He sees ghosts sometimes. It's not a constant. It happens every so often where he's like, "Who's that?" It's like, no one, kind of thing.
Ew, no.
I don't think. And he famous last words. I'm not. And all of a sudden,
you're literally either the first one dead in like a murder show, or you're the first one possessed by a ghost in.
But I only say that because of my life track record.
Yeah.
Whether it's a spiritual gift or curse or whatever. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to fuck around with a Ouija board.
No.
I don't want to mess around with a Ouija board. Because I don't want to go out of my way to invite stuff. Good choices have good consequences and bad choices have bad consequences. Yeah. Like, you're still making choices, right? But I just don't think, like, if I were alone here and I whipped out a Ouija board and I was like, speak to me, I just don't think it would work.
I feel like I'm one of those people that it would just like attach to me.
And it might.
I really feel.
And I could be wrong about myself, by the way.
Who knows?
I'm just saying, like, there could be things attached to me, but again, I don't know. So
your eyes just start rolling back.
Yeah. Or am I protected? I don't know. I don't know. Or am I just left alone?
No, I think that if I like dabbled in that kind of stuff, I think something would totally attach to me. I don't know why. I just because I have shitty luck. That's why.
Right. Well, anyway, we're all over the place with this. But imagine going back to that sorority house and then being like, I cast you out. And then she's just gone.
And then she's just... I think people would be pissed at me.
We wouldn't tell anyone. You know?
Well, they would know she was missing. The blinds would stop moving.
Yeah. Yeah. We should go try and just talk to some current sorority sisters there and be like, have you had any experiences with Patty?
I can post on our Facebook page and ask them. Because there's current members and then old people like me and then even older people.
Right. It's like the
Our alum page.
Alumni. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You should put in there like, hey, I was a guest on this show.
Does anybody have anything?
Does anyone have anything?
Send them to you.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Do you want to dive into anything else?
Yeah.
Or are those the stories you want to stick with for now?
I want to dive into something else.
Yeah. That's fine. Fine. Okay. You have a couple more stories.
I do.
Throw them out. Let's hear them. Throw them down.
So we moved in, my husband, me, and our kids moved into a new house. So the end of 2021. And it's an older house, like 1980s. Moved in, felt good about it, loved it. And some weird stuff started happening after a few months. And at that time, my oldest was small enough to still be in a crib, and we had a baby monitor camera with audio watching him. And a few nights in a row, he would start talking to something, but nothing was there. But he only could say a few words because he was, just a little over 18 months at the time. So it wasn't like a full-on conversation, but he's saying little words and maybe like laughing here and there, but he's staring out of his crib bars.
Was he like standing up and looking over?
No, he's sitting, but yeah, he's like looking, like kind of tilting his head a little bit and looking at something. And he's so dead set on it too. It's not like he's talking over here and everything. He is watching something that is just standing in his room. And he would talk, and be done. Well, one night he was just having the longest conversation that an 18-month-old can have. Again, this thing that's standing in the middle of the room. And so that morning when he woke up, I said, "Hey, buddy, who you been talking to?" And he kind of like looked at me like weird, like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Who you been talking to at night in your room?" And he goes, "Oh, Frank." And I was like, "Who? Frank? Friend Frank." "Oh, okay." So I was like, now we have to burn this place down. Obviously, but he just was so set on this name, and I couldn't figure. I always watch what shows he watched. There wasn't one with a character named Frank. We don't have any family or friends named Frank. Nothing. And he came up with this name Frank. Thought it was kind of weird, but whatever. So a couple weeks go by, and I am back in my son's room with my baby daughter, and my husband is out down the hall in the kitchen. So I hear my husband walk over to the beginning of the hallway. And he goes, "Whoa, that was a really nice throw, dude." And I poked my head out of their room and I said, "What was a nice throw? What are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, Grant, our oldest, just threw one of his foam blocks across from his room to our room. And it looked like it had some power to it. Way to go." And I said, "Connor, no one threw anything. I've been reading to the kids. I've been watching them. No one threw anything." And he goes walking down the hallway and he goes, "What?" And I go, "It must have been Frank." So, okay, year later, I've forgotten about Frank. We haven't heard from Frank in a long time. Year later, I bought my daughter a new pair of shoes, and we were leaving somewhere, and I could not find these pair of shoes anywhere. I looked everywhere, her room, the shoe bin, everywhere. We couldn't find them. I had looked in her room, I don't know how many times, and I was like, I will check one more time. I went in her room, and the shoes were in the middle of the floor, and when I looked at them, one shoe was on its side and went flat with the other shoe.
Dude.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Haven't heard from him in a while, but yeah. No, we have a ghost named Frank.
I don't like that.
I know you don't.
Frank has been come and go, though.
Yeah, he's been come and go. So we've only had just a couple weird paranormal-y things go on. It's not like a constant thing. It's just here and there.
How do you usually react? Do you like need to sage the home, or do you
No.
even think about it? Do you do anything, or are you just like, whatever?
I think for just a few minutes, I'm just like, that was freaky. I didn't love that. I don't feel unsafe and haven't been harmed. It just gives me the heebies for a little bit, and then I'm fine.
Right. Because you have a religious background. You're in a spiritual place right now.
Yes.
You have a mixture of things.
Totally.
So I just am curious, like, how do you reconcile or even approach those situations? And apparently, that's an easy one. Whatever.
Mine's just kind of like, forget it, and it didn't happen, or I don't, or...
You live in denial.
I live in denial. Yes.
It's a lot of people do. Oh, man. Well, shoot, Liz. I like these stories. And we're going to schedule a time to go to the Haunted Sorority.
Totally.
And visit Patty. And I'm so excited, actually,
because let's do it.
If we were able to catch anything on anything...
I think everyone would move out. I think they'd have to close the chapter down and just be like, it's been a really nice run.
Well, shoot. Anything else you want to dive into or talk about?
I don't think so.
Well, shoot, Liz. thank you for coming on Unholy Vibes.
You are welcome.
We had some technical difficulties there, but thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for your stories. I love them. And maybe sometime in the future, if you're comfortable, we can throw out some more, because I know you've got more. Anyway, but if not, that's okay too. Anyway, for everyone listening or everyone watching, if you feel like I forgot to ask Liz something important or you want to ask her some questions, DM me on Instagram at unholyvibespod or email me at unholyvibespod@gmail.com. You can reach me there with any questions, comments, concerns. If you or anyone you know has suffered from a spooky story, be it stalkers, killers, aliens, ghosts, goblins, demons, anything and everything, I want to know about it. This is not just a ghost podcast, guys. This is not just a ghost show. I want it all.
It's unholy vibes. It's not unholy ghosts.
It's
unholy vibes.
Any spooky story, I want it. You're absolutely right. Not unholy ghosts, bro. Even though my logo would say otherwise, right? Anywho, back to Liz. Resting Stitch Face. What's the actual @ on Instagram?
It's RSF Boutique. It stands for Resting Stitch Face Boutique. And
yeah, reach out to her if you want to get some cool ghost girl crew necks or anything else that she makes. Reach out to her at RSF Boutique. DM her and let her know that you came from Unholy Vibes, and she'll give you
25% off.
25% off. Heck yeah. Be sure to check Liz out there, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this episode, share previous episodes with your friends, your family, strangers. I just want to spread the spooky words. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening. Stay spooky.